The red sands of Mars were silent that night. The sky above the mining colony glowed with the faint light of Earth, far away and unreachable. Inside the human base, alarms began to wail. A strange object had entered the atmosphere. Too big for a drone, too slow for a meteor. Captain Rice was the first to see it. From the control tower, he watched the massive shadow descend, burning through the thin Martian clouds. It wasn't falling, it was landing. The ground trembled. The dust rose like a storm. Impact confirmed, 2 clicks north of base, the operator said.
Sir, orders?
Rice narrowed his eyes. Prepare a recon team. We'll check it out. Within minutes, 4 armored vehicles rolled out into the desert. The headlights cut through the red fog. The soldiers were tense. They'd seen strange things before, but nothing like this. Mars was supposed to be quiet, dead. Not tonight. As they approached the crash site, the dust began to settle, and everyone froze. In the middle of a crater lay a massive figure. It wasn't a ship. It was someone. Her body was covered in silver-blue armor that seemed grown, not built. Her long hair floated like silk strands in the low gravity. She was lying on her side, breathing slowly, her chest rising and falling like the movement of mountains. One soldier whispered, It's a woman." Another muttered, "That's not human." Captain Rice stepped closer, ignoring the trembling in his boots. The creature was at least 15 feet tall. Her skin shimmered faintly under the light, metallic yet alive. He saw wounds across her shoulder, and strange glowing lines that pulsed weakly, like veins of light. She opened her eyes, golden wide, and filled with fear. The soldiers raised their rifles instantly. "Hold your fire," Rice barked. The alien flinched, her voice breaking as she tried to speak. "Don't hurt me." The words were clumsy, broken English, but they hit Rice like a hammer. She could speak. He lowered his weapon slowly. "We won't hurt you. Are you injured?" She stared at him for a long moment, then whispered, almost like she was confessing a secret. "My body's too big. I'm not breeding material." The soldiers exchanged confused glances. Rice frowned. "What do you mean?" She didn't answer. Her body trembled and her eyes filled with tears that glowed faintly before fading into the dust. Rice took another step forward. "Who did this to you?" "My own kind," she said softly. There was silence. Even the wind seemed to stop. Then suddenly her body jerked in pain. Blue energy flickered along her arms. Rice moved on instinct. He threw his rifle down and ran toward her. "Sir!" "Stop!" a soldier shouted, but Rice didn't listen. He climbed up the slope of the crater, boots sinking in the red sand until he stood beside her massive hand. He could feel the heat radiating off her skin. Carefully, he reached out and touched her wrist. It pulsed once, twice, and then he felt it. A heartbeat deep and strong. Her eyes widened. "You touched me?" Rice nodded. "You're alive. That's what matters." For a long time she stared at him, then her lips curved just a little. The first sign of trust. Behind him, the soldiers shouted again. "Captain, command says terminate on sight. They think she's dangerous." Rice turned sharply. "Stand down." "That's an order." The soldiers hesitated. They knew Rice's reputation. He had fought on Titan, saved a colony from a rogue AI, and never backed down from a command. But now he was breaking one. Rice spoke quietly, almost to himself. "She's not dangerous." "She's scared." The alien's eyelids fluttered. Her strength was fading fast. "If they find me, they'll kill me. Your people and mine." Rice looked back at his team. "Get the med kit now." "Sir, she's an unknown species." "Then consider this a first contact mission," Rice snapped. They obeyed reluctantly. Within minutes, Rice was climbing over her arm, checking the wounds. The blue light under her skin pulsed weaker each second. Her breathing slowed. "What's your name?" he asked softly. "Lyra," she whispered. "Of the Carinth Dominion." "All right, Lyra, I'm going to help you. Stay with me." She looked at him again, this small human standing beside her giant body. There was something in his eyes she didn't understand. Not fear, not pity, but something else. Something warm. "Why?" she asked. "Why help me?" Rice sighed. "Because everyone deserves a chance to live." Back at the human base, things were getting worse. The commander's voice cracked through the radio. "Captain Rice, report. Have you confirmed the alien presence?" Rice hesitated. "Yes, sir." "She's injured, non-hostile." "Then finish the job, Captain. We can't risk contamination. Rice's jaw tightened. He turned off the radio. Sir? One soldier asked. What do we tell command? Rice looked at the giant alien girl lying in the crater. Tell them she's dead. We'll bring back samples to make it look real. The soldier blinked. You're lying to command? Rice's voice was firm. You didn't see what I saw. She's not our enemy. That night under the red sky, Rice brought Lyra secretly to an abandoned mining shelter. It took every ounce of strength and engineering skill to move her without being detected. Her breathing was slow, her eyes closed, but she was alive. He turned on a low heater and set down a few oxygen tanks. The shelter filled with soft, warm light. Lyra stirred, blinking weakly. Where are we? Safe, Rice said. For now. She tried to sit up, but winced in pain. You shouldn't have done this. They'll punish you. He shrugged. They already tried to kill me once. This time I'll give them a better reason. Lyra looked down at him. Such a small, fragile creature compared to her kind. And yet he had stood against his own people to protect her. You're strange, human, Rice smirked. You're not the first to say that. For a moment there was silence. Only the hum of the air filters filled the room. Then Lyra spoke again, her voice trembling. My people left me behind. They said my body was too large, that I would never be able to breed or join a bonding clan. I was a defect. Rice felt a sharp ache in his chest. So they abandoned you? She nodded slowly. They said I would weaken our line. I tried to prove them wrong. I joined the soldiers. I fought their wars. But even then I was too much. Her golden eyes glimmered with tears. When the ship crashed, I thought maybe it was better to die alone. Rice shook his head. You're not alone anymore. Lyra blinked, surprised. You would say that to an enemy? Rice gave a small, tired smile. You're not my enemy. Just someone who needs help. Hours passed. Rice tended her wounds using what little medical tech he had. Lyra's body healed faster than human tissue, glowing lines knitting back together. As dawn approached, she was strong enough to move again. She watched him work. The way his hands were steady, the way his voice stayed calm, even when he was afraid. No one from her world had ever looked at her like that, not as a failure, not as a tool. Just as someone, Rice, she said softly. He looked up. Yeah? If they find me, they'll kill me. If your people find you helping me, they'll kill you too. Rice chuckled faintly. Then we better not let them find us, she stared at him, confused. Why risk your life? He paused, meeting her gaze. Because I've seen too much death. Maybe it's time I saved someone. Something changed in her then. A flicker of warmth behind those golden eyes. Her pulse steadied. Her breathing calmed. For the first time in her life, Lyra felt safe. But outside, the desert wind carried more than dust. In the distance, red lights appeared on the horizon. Search drones sweeping the surface. Rice saw them from the shelter's small window and clenched his jaw. They're coming. Lyra looked at him, fear flashing in her eyes. Then this is goodbye. Rice shook his head. Not yet. You're not dying here. He grabbed his rifle, checked the power cell, and looked at her one last time. Stay low. No matter what happens, don't move. She reached out, her massive hand trembling. Rice, thank you. He smiled faintly. Save your thanks. We're not out of this yet. As he stepped outside into the red storm, the camera would pan up. The wind roaring, the drones closing in, and the faint sound of her heartbeat echoing in the background. The red sun of Mars was just rising when Captain Rice stepped out of the old mining shelter. The wind howled across the barren desert, carrying fine dust that stung his eyes. In the distance, he saw the faint red glows of the search drones. They were moving fast, scanning the ground, hunting for heat signatures. Inside the shelter, Lyra waited, her glowing eyes barely open. The crash in her wounds had drained her energy. She could feel the hum of the drones in her bones, like thunder before a storm. Rice pressed his hand to his earpiece. Command, this is Alpha Team returning from recon, he said, keeping his voice calm. There was static, then a harsh voice replied. Report, Captain. Any sign of the target? Rice looked back at the shelter where Lyra hid in the shadows. Negative, he lied. Just debris. Nothing alive. There was a pause. Copy that. Continue search pattern. Drones are inbound to your position for confirmation. Rice cursed under his breath. The drones would scan the area and find Lyra in seconds. He had to move fast. He ran back inside. Lyra lifted her head weakly. They're coming, aren't they? Yes, Rice said. We need to move. Can you walk? She tried to stand but winced as her legs shook. Not far. Rice grabbed his pack, pulling out a small energy injector. This will help for a while. He pressed it against her skin and the serum glowed blue as it entered her bloodstream. Within moments, Lyra's breathing steadied. She pushed herself up, towering over him once more. Better, she said quietly. Rice nodded. Good, follow me. Stay low. They stepped out into the storm. The red dust swirled around them like ghosts. Rice led her through the canyon behind the shelter, moving between rocks and shadows. The ground trembled as the drones passed overhead, their searchlights sweeping the sand. Down, he whispered. They crouched behind a large boulder. One of the drones stopped above them, its sensors clicking as it scanned the area. Rice held his breath. He could hear the low hum of its engine, too close. Then a sudden spark of energy flashed across Lyra's skin. The drone detected it. It turned, locking on. Run! Rice shouted. Blue beams of light cut through the air. Rice fired back, blasting the drone with his rifle. It exploded in a burst of sparks, but the others were already closing in. Lyra grabbed him and leaped. Her massive body moved with surprising grace, carrying them across the canyon. They landed hard behind a ridge, dust flying everywhere. Rice groaned. Remind me to never doubt your strength again. Lyra gave a faint smile. You humans are very fragile. He laughed under his breath. Yeah, I've noticed, but there was no time for jokes. The drones were regrouping. Rice opened his wrist pad, scanning for shelter. There's an old research tunnel nearby, he said. If we reach it, we can hide underground. Lyra nodded. Lead the way. They ran for what felt like hours. The desert stretched endlessly and the air grew thinner. Rice's suit beeped warnings of oxygen running low. But Lyra was tireless, her long strides carrying them both forward. Finally, they reached the tunnel, a dark hole in the side of a cliff, half buried by sand. Rice led her inside, sealing the entrance behind them with a metal door. The sound of the wind faded. For the first time in hours, it was quiet. Lyra sat down carefully, her glowing eyes dim. Rice collapsed beside her, breathing hard. That was close, he said. She looked at him with curiosity. You risked everything. For me? He shrugged. You'd have done the same. Lyra tilted her head. No, my kind doesn't risk for others. We obey. We follow orders. Rice gave a small laugh. Maybe that's the problem. There was a silence between them. The only sound was the soft hum of Lyra's heartbeat, deep and powerful, echoing through the narrow tunnel. Rice finally spoke. Why did your people make you feel like you didn't belong? Lyra's voice trembled. On my world, everything is about strength and purpose. Every life has a role. Breeders continue the race. Warriors protect it. Scientists expand it. But me, I was made wrong. My body grew beyond control. My energy levels were unstable. They said I would produce chaos if I bonded with anyone. Rice frowned. Bonded? She hesitated, then explained softly. When two of my kind choose each other, their life energy merges. It creates new life, our children. But for me, it never worked. My energy was too strong. It burned anyone who tried. Rice stared at her. So they called you? Broken? Lyra nodded. They said I was not breeding material. Her words hung in the air like a wound that never healed. Rice reached out, touching her arm gently. Her skin was warm, alive, and for a second their pulses synced. The light under her skin glowed softly, reacting to his touch. Lyra's eyes widened. What are you doing? Nothing, he said softly. Just proving something. What? That you're not broken. For the first time she smiled. A small, uncertain smile, but it was real. You speak strange, human, he smiled back. And you're terrible at taking compliments. Lyra's laughter was soft, like music echoing through the tunnel. Rice couldn't help but stare. This enormous alien woman, feared by her kind, rejected by her people, and yet she laughed like someone finally free. As night fell outside, they rested. Rice worked on repairing his transmitter while Lyra watched curiously. Why are you fixing that? She asked. If I can scramble the drone signals, they'll think we're on the other side of the planet. Rice explained. Smart, she said. You'd make a good Carinth soldier. He looked at her. You think your people would accept a human? Lyra's smile faded. No, they would destroy you. Rice chuckled bitterly. Seems both our species are pretty bad at kindness. She tilted her head. Kindness is weakness where I come from. Then I guess I'm weak, he said simply. Lyra studied him for a long time. Maybe. Weakness is not so bad. There was silence again, but this time it was peaceful. The air between them felt different now. Softer. Warmer. Later, as Rice adjusted the signal emitter, Lyra suddenly winced. The glowing lines on her body flickered. "Something's wrong," she whispered. Rice dropped the tool and ran to her. "What is it?" "My core energy. It's unstable. The crash damaged my life field generator. Without it, my body will collapse." Rice looked around, desperate. "Tell me how to fix it." She shook her head. "You can't, it's Carinth technology." "Then teach me," he snapped. Lyra stared at him, shocked by the force in his voice. "Why do you care so much, human? You could walk away, live." Rice's eyes were steady. "Because I don't want to lose you." Her breath caught. "You hardly know me," he smiled sadly. "Sometimes that's enough." Lyra's gaze softened. She reached out, her massive hand trembling as she touched his chest. The energy between them pulsed again, stronger this time. Her core stabilized slightly, glowing with faint light. She gasped. What is this?" Rice looked down at their joined hands. "I don't know. But maybe our energy connects," Lyra blinked. "That's impossible." "Yeah," Rice said. "So is everything else that's happened today." For the next few hours, they worked together. Lyra showed him the control nodes in her armor, and Rice used his human tech to reroute power from his suit into her life field. Slowly, the glow under her skin steadied. She sighed in relief. "It's working." Rice smiled, exhausted. "Told you. You're not dying today." Lyra looked at him, her voice soft. "You saved me again," he shrugged. "Guess I'm just stubborn." "No," she said. "You're something else." Their eyes met, and for a long moment they just looked at each other. No words, no fear. Just quiet understanding. But the peace didn't last. The ground suddenly shook. The metal walls vibrated. Rice jumped to his feet. "They found us." Lyra's eyes glowed. "Drones?" "Bigger," Rice said grimly. "Gunships." She stood towering to her full height. Her armor flared with blue light, her strength returning. "Then we fight." Rice loaded his rifle. "You sure you're ready?" Lyra smiled faintly. "I was born for battle." The sound of engines roared above them. Dust rained from the ceiling. Rice and Lyra exchanged one last look. "If we die," she whispered, "I'm glad it's beside you." Rice nodded. "We're not dying." "Not tonight." He hit the detonator. The tunnel behind them exploded, sealing the exit. Together they ran deeper into the underground network, into darkness, into the unknown. Above them, the gunships circled the ruins, scanning for life. Below, a faint blue glow pulsed in the shadows, two hearts beating as one. The underground tunnels stretched endlessly beneath the red deserts of Mars. Dark, silent, and ancient, once used for mining, now forgotten. Captain Rice and Lyra moved carefully through the shadows, the sound of distant explosions echoing far above. The gunships were still searching for them. Rice's flashlight flickered weakly. The air was thin. His oxygen gauge flashed red. He turned to Lyra, who was glowing faintly with soft blue light. Her energy kept the darkness away. "You okay?" he asked, his voice rough with exhaustion. She nodded slowly. "My strength returns. Thanks to you." Rice smiled faintly. "Guess that makes us even." They stopped to rest near an old support pillar. Dust fell from the ceiling as the ground trembled again. Lyra sat down, her massive frame dwarfing the space around her. Rice sat beside her, wiping the sweat from his forehead. "They won't stop until they find us," he muttered. Lyra looked at him with calm eyes. "Then we keep moving. There must be another way out." Rice checked his wrist pad. The old maps showed a path leading to the northern cliffs where abandoned research shuttles were buried. Maybe one of them still worked. He stood up. "There's a hangar ahead. If we reach it, we can escape this planet." Lyra hesitated. "And go where?" "Anywhere but here," he said simply. "You deserve a life." She tilted her head. "A life with who?" "My people hate me. Yours would kill me." Rice met her gaze. "Then we'll make our own place." For a long moment, she didn't speak. Then she whispered, "You're strange, human." He smiled. "You keep saying that." Hours passed as they made their way through the tunnels. Rice's flashlight died completely, but Lyra's faint glow lit the path. The air grew colder and thinner. The silence was heavy, almost sacred. Rice, Lyra said quietly as they walked. When I was young, I dreamed of being chosen for bonding. I wanted someone to see me, not my size, not my flaws, just me. But they said I was a mistake. Rice looked up at her. They were wrong, she smiled sadly. And what about you? Don't humans have mates? Rice's eyes darkened. I had one, a wife. She died on Titan Colony. Radiation storm. I couldn't save her. Lyra stopped walking. I'm sorry, he nodded. I stopped believing I could protect anyone. Until you. Her glowing eyes softened. And I stopped believing I was worth saving. Until you. They looked at each other. One small, one enormous, but somehow perfectly equal in that moment. Finally, they reached a vast underground chamber. The walls shimmered with frozen moisture, and in the center stood a half-buried shuttle covered in dust. Rice rushed forward, brushing off the debris. It's human tech. Old, but it might work. Lyra touched the ship's hull. Can it fly? Rice smiled. With a little help, maybe. They worked together. Rice reconnected old power conduits while Lyra used her energy to recharge the fuel cells. Sparks danced across the floor. The engines coughed, then roared softly to life. A faint light filled the chamber, a mix of human technology and alien power. For a moment, it felt like hope. But then the scanners on Rice's wristpad beeped sharply. He looked up, his heart sinking. They found us, Lyra's eyes flashed gold. Then we fly now. Rice nodded and jumped into the pilot's seat. Get inside. She crouched, squeezing through the wide cargo door, her massive body barely fitting. The ship trembled under her weight. Rice slammed the ignition. Hold on! The engine screamed. The ground shook violently as the old shuttle burst upward through the rock. Rocks fell around them, the roof collapsing. But the ship broke free, shooting up into the Martian sky in a cloud of red dust. Outside, gunships turned immediately, firing plasma bolts into the sky. Rice weaved through the storm of fire. Come on, old girl, hold together. Lyra placed her hands on the walls, her blue energy surging through the ship's systems. I can help. I can make it faster. Rice grinned. Then do it. Her power flared, and suddenly the ship surged forward like lightning. The gunships fell behind, their weapons unable to keep up. Within minutes, they cleared the atmosphere, entering the dark silence of space. Rice looked out the window. The stars stretched endlessly before them. We made it, he whispered. Lyra leaned against the wall, weak but smiling. You humans never stop fighting, he laughed softly. And you never stop surprising me. For the first time, there was peace. They drifted through space, surrounded by stars. Rice checked the systems, oxygen low, power minimal, but they were alive. He turned to Lyra. Your wounds, they're healing faster, she nodded. When our energy touched, something changed inside me. What do you mean? He asked. Lyra placed her hand over her chest. My life field is stable now. My body feels new, Rice frowned slightly. Is that good? I think so, she whispered. Then her eyes widened in surprise. Wait, I feel something else. Rice moved closer. What is it? She looked at him, confused and trembling. There's a second rhythm inside me. Another pulse. He froze. You mean? Lyra's voice broke. Yes, a new life. Inside me, Rice's heart skipped. That's impossible, she smiled faintly. Everything about us was impossible. For a long time, they sat in silence. Rice reached out, his hand trembling as it touched her arm. You're carrying life? My life? She nodded slowly. A mix of both. Human and Corinth. It should not exist. But it does. Rice felt tears burn his eyes. Lyra, you said your kind rejected you for being too different. Maybe this is why. Maybe you were meant to bridge us. Lyra's eyes filled with emotion. Then this child. Is hope? He smiled. Yes. Hope that maybe love can break the rules of biology. Weeks passed as they drifted through the void. Rice repaired the ship bit by bit. Lyra grew weaker as her energy focused inward, protecting the tiny spark of life within her. Rice took care of her, bringing food, adjusting the oxygen, whispering stories from Earth. He told her about the oceans, vast blue water stretching forever, and the forests, green and full of life. Lyra listened like a child hearing about magic. One day, Rice said, I'll show you. Lyra smiled softly. If I survive, he leaned closer. You will. Both of you. But deep inside, he was afraid. The ship's systems were failing. They had nowhere to go. Still, he couldn't give up. Not now. One night, as he sat by her side, Lyra's hand reached out to him. "Rice!" He turned quickly. "I'm here." Her voice was weak but calm. "If I don't make it, promise me something." "Don't say that," he whispered. "Promise me," she insisted. "Promise you'll protect our child." Rice's throat tightened. "I promise. But you're not dying." Lyra smiled faintly. "Humans always hope." He squeezed her hand. "Because sometimes hope is all we have." Her golden eyes closed and she whispered, "You made me believe." I wasn't broken. He felt her pulse slow beneath his fingers. But then suddenly the ship's lights flickered. A soft hum filled the cabin. Blue light spread across the walls and her energy flowing into the ship itself. The system stabilized. Power returned. Life support glowed green. Rice looked around in shock.
"Lyra, what are you doing?"
Her voice echoed, gentle but strong. "Giving you and our child a future." The ship's computer came online. Autopilot engaged. "Destination Earth orbit," Rice shouted. "No! Lyra, stop! You'll drain yourself!" But her smile was peaceful. "I'm not dying. I'm becoming part of this ship. My energy will guide you home." And then, silence. The blue light faded, leaving a soft glow in the control panel shaped like her pulse. Rice fell to his knees. Tears slid down his face. "Lyra," he placed his hand over the panel. "I'll bring us home. I'll keep your promise." Months later, a small ship entered Earth's orbit. Rescue teams found it drifting quietly above the clouds. Inside, they found a human man, exhausted, holding a small glowing pod close to his chest. When they opened it, soft light filled the room, and inside, a tiny infant lay sleeping. Its skin shimmered silver, its eyes glowed faintly gold. The doctors were speechless. Rice only whispered, "She's part of both of us. She's proof love doesn't need permission." As the rescue shuttle carried them down to Earth, Rice looked up at the stars. One star glowed brighter than the rest. Blue, steady, eternal. He smiled softly. "We made it, Lyra." The wind carried his words away as the screen faded to black. The end.